Hello and welcome to our show, Crooked Doctors.
Crooked Doctors, folks.
Today is November 15th, 2013.
That's right.
Friday, November 15th, 2013.
That's right.
And we're live in the studio. And we have a very wonderful technical director,
Oh, yes,
S, who we refer to as S.
We'll call her S.
Who gave us some really good feedback that we've been working on for the last few weeks.
Okay.
And what her suggestion was to get a bird's eye view.
An over group view, if you would, folks.
So we've got in a bird's eye view, and what's important about the bird's eye view that I organized into a diagram is that, and I'm going to show this. By the way, if you have any questions, we're live. You can call us at 212-245-7273. There are 6 call-in lines. Our challenge up to now was to put enough facts out there so that I wouldn't get physically assaulted and murdered.
Sure.
So if you'd like to give us a call, you can. And there are enough facts out there and in federal court and with law enforcement agencies that we have a little bit of protection.
Sure.
Do we have a caller?
Yes, you do.
Oh, great. Jason, thanks so much for giving us a call.
Always.
Hi, Jace.
Always.
All right.
How you doing, Will?
All right.
This is Jason Berg from Jersey City, New Jersey. And he's been a long-time community activist.
He has.
And he ran as an independent for city council.
He did.
And if all goes according to plan, there might be a special election in a year or less.
Oh, yeah, we got things on the...
So there's several, Jason, there's several methods of attack for a corrupt government.
Yeah.
I have several, including nuclear weapons, and you have one that you're working on. Is that correct?
Yes, I am. I'm working on a project that's in 48
Citizens
states
Group.
right now. Going to go to 50.
Wait, can you hold on for just one second? Stephanie, can you turn it up just a little in the studio? Because it's hard, I can't hear him. Jason, I'm just asking our technical director just to turn you up a little bit.
A little bit, sure.
As long as it doesn't turn me off.
No.
No, you're good now. Sound good now.
No, you're good. You're working on an initiative where you can remove from office crooked elected officials and other crooked people. And we're not going to talk about this right now because you're gathering together your citizens' initiative to do this. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, good.
We're going to be having this thing go on in November the 19th. And
well, you don't want to give away too much to your enemy, because what you do know, and I did confirm this, is that the government really does watch my show.
Oh, sure.
And the reason they watch my show is to shut me up.
Oh.
well, that's okay. Well, actually, they can't shut you up because you have the First Amendment right, and you're speaking the truth.
Thank you.
And you've been with your way of your working. I'm so glad that you were able to win another court case for yourself this week. God bless. That was one worth waiting for.
Thank you very much. What Jason Berg is referring to, and what M&N Production gave me some feedback, is I'm in federal court right now, and I've submitted ample. This is the amount of documentary evidence that I've submitted. Okay, so there's 4 federal judges right now who have no plausible deniability.
Absolutely.
Okay, they have ample documentary evidence to know that the Manhattan District Attorney's Office has engaged in very serious federal crimes,
Sure.
as have a number of institutions and individuals. And the feedback that I got was, so that we don't get lost in the details, the purpose of this show is to put enough facts out there that I don't get murdered. And what happened in Jersey City, every lie they told, every step they took, every document they falsified was premeditated attempted murder and conspiracy to commit murder.
Okay.
So, so we don't get lost in the details. What the feedback that I got was that it'd be really good if you had an overview, a bird's eye view,
Yes.
in large chunks, so that the audience could get a snapshot of what was going on. And so I did that, and I thought it would be helpful to orient the 4 federal judges who are looking at this also. So I submitted this as an exhibit, and it's marked Exhibit 61, which you'll see, and it's also time date stamped in the federal court. Now this week, Jason Berg is one of several heroes, and make no mistake about this, Jason, you are a hero.
You're a hero,
Thank
Jason.
you.
And so are you.
Oh, thank you.
There are a number of community activists who do take risks, do put our life on. Make no mistake, our lives are literally on the line.
Oh, sure.
And what we're doing to take our government back is no different than what community activists in Red China did. So there's several methods of attack. I can have dishonest elected officials removed from office in Jersey City based on the Faulkner Act, based on moral turpitude, acts of moral turpitude, one of which I'm going to show one example. So this is Mayor STEVE FULOP in Jersey City, who has demonstrated irrefutably moral turpitude. And what moral turpitude is
malfeasance in office, wrongdoing by public officials. Do you want to add to that?
Yeah.
And not taking action when they know that that their responsibility as an elected official to do the right thing.
Thank you, Bill and Jason. It also is when they demonstrate a lack of honesty, lack of integrity, lack of good morals, lack of justice that would allow you to run a town. And so let me show this doc. So I've got 4 federal judges, ample documentary evidence, and let me show the bird's eye view. And I want to say thank you to our very perceptive, very intelligent, and drop-dead gorgeous technical director, S, who gave some very good feedback, and I gave this to Orient. She's fabulous. Yeah. So she should get a PhD in sociology. That's what we think. But she'll be working on that. So what we're going to do is, this is a document that was submitted in federal court. And this week, we were in federal court. Jason made phone calls, other community activists. You can take our stills off, because I'm going to talk us through this. And I'd like to get a close shot right here. See this? This is time, date stamped.
Wow.
So right here is time, date stamped in the federal court. Right there, Eastern District of New York, Eastern District of New York. Okay, so this is time, date stamped. And when I discovered that my documents were tampered with in federal court, the advice I got was make sure anytime you go to, and this is good information for all folks out there, make sure that if you're going to the after hours drop box, which is right here, whoops, sorry, Steph, the after hours drop box right here. So if you're going to the after hours drop box, make sure you time date stamp every single page.
Wait a minute, how do you time date stamp if it's the after hours? There's nobody there?
No, there is. The marshals are there, and they changed procedures, so they log you in. So there is a log, and the U.S. Marshals have a clock. It's an electronic clock where you time date stamp your submissions. Do not time date stamp them just on the first page or the back page. Time date stamp every single page so that they do not tamper with your documents and bring a copy for yourself, as you know, and whatever courtesy copies you have, you time date stamp every page. Okay? You wanted to say something, Jason?
Go ahead.
Well, you just brought up the thing. You're coming there with a second copy, so after they stamp the first group, you're going to stamp your second group. And that's going to allow you to have that, again, the duplication that you was received on that date and at that time.
Yes. So what you usually do is, if you're making a motion like I was, there's a copy for the pro se office for scanning that you don't staple, and there's a copy for yourself that you time date stamp every single page. You time date stamp every single page that you submit as an original for filing and scanning. You get a copy for opposing counsel, and I usually do courtesy copies to the judge to protect myself. So the bottom line is time date stamp every single page, because what I can report is that at the Eastern District of New York, my exhibits that were attached to my amended complaint were tampered with. Okay, so we're going forward with an amended complaint, and right now, and I'm going to go through this document, which is in large chunks, and right now I got a phone call today that shows that I am still being defamed, I am still being persecuted, and one of the very interesting, the very smart people who are monitoring my case said, she's in federal court right now. So I'm being defamed on the internet, and I can amend my complaint to include and show that example, which was emailed to me. I can in discovery, and I can trace the person who did that, and we have a working theory, and that can be put a stop to. Okay, so my persecution is not stopping because I am speaking out against a number of dishonest public officials, dishonest people, but it's happening right now. So the most recent incident of defamation happened, just in the last few days, and this includes Mayor Fulop, who defamed me throughout his campaign, and Mayor Fulop, who made false police reports. Now, Jason, making false police reports is a crime.
Plus a felony.
Yes, and I was a victim of a ticket scam in Jersey City back in February, and I only won because I did an Oprah search, and the police officer didn't show up. But that still doesn't give the city the right, or police officers the right, false documents to collect money, because it's not really their job to collect money for the city. They're there to work on the protecting and the Constitution of the United States and the Bill of Rights. Everything else is an add-on by the feds, the state, and the local municipalities.
So there are several methods of attacking the corruption that we're dealing with.
Right.
And so what I want to do is just do the overview, and then I got a question that I want to answer, and the question was from the question concerned. I had to talk to federal law enforcement. I had to talk to an FBI agent.
Sure. Absolutely.
Okay, and one of the questions that he asked me was about Nino Falcone. This is Municipal Court Judge Nino Falcone.
North Bergen.
From North Bergen, who threatened me and acted on his threats. So one of the things I mentioned in previous shows was the techniques that are used against me. One of the techniques that are used against me are military interrogation techniques. And in military interrogation techniques, and remember I have friends in the military, in military interrogation techniques, what they try to do is determine whether you're a large chunker or a small chunker. And what that means is, how do you process information? They try to get a beat on you to see how you process information, what your hot buttons are, how to control you, how to manipulate you, how to push your buttons. So what they want to do is find out if you're detail-oriented, a small chunker, or you tend to think in larger chunks.
The big picture.
Right, which this is. So if you wanted to perform a test, a field test, what you would do is train your enemy into thinking that you're always detailed-oriented, like I did. And then every once in a while, when you wanted to test them, you would switch to, demonstrating your versatility, you would switch to large chunking to see. So I did that test, and when I was talking to an FBI agent, he asked me a question, and he asked me, how did Nino Falcone threaten you?
Yes.
Now normally, or the way I would train the enemy into thinking about me, is I would answer that question very detailed.
Sure.
Okay. This time I threw him aloof.
Wow.
I threw what Bill normally calls a, we were discussing this, and I threw them a curveball.
Oh, a curveball.
So instead of answering as I've normally trained them to think about how I would answer in, nauseating detail to the nth degree and back it up with all kinds of evidence, what I did was I was asked, how did Nino Falcone threaten you?
Yes.
And I said, well, I'm a little fuzzy on that detail. I'm a little fuzzy on that. And the FBI agent said, you're a liar. Because they're I've trained them to so think about my responses as being detail-oriented, that when I gave them another response, they would automatically try to characterize that response as a lie. So I tested to see if they were using military interrogation techniques, and indeed they are.
They are.
So this is a field test, only it's much more serious than that.
Sure.
So they claimed that I was lying because I answered a question the way I trained, out of character, out of the way I would normally do something,
Right.
or the way I've trained them to think about how I would normally do something. So if you're dealing with crooked doctors or dishonest psychiatrists, what they're looking for is certain characteristics that form a persona. So to protect yourself, throw up false characteristics.
I see.
Throw up false likes, false dislikes,
Sure.
false ways of, are you detailed oriented or you're not detailed oriented. And if you throw up false personas, then you can protect yourself from these crooked doctors.
All right.
So, in fact, Nino Falcone threatened me by mailing me a threatening letter,
There you go.
and that letter is in federal district court right now. It is an exhibit. I'm going to make a note to show that exhibit next week because there's a couple other things I want to get through this week. And in that letter, Nino Falcone says, I'm going to get you. You've referred to me as a dishonest, I'm trying to get to that, but not yet. Because I still have to do the big picture stuff.
Sure.
He says, you've referred to me as a dishonest attorney. He is a dishonest attorney. Sure. And in that December 2011 letter, which is an exhibit in federal court, and lots of people have copies, he said in that letter, in that December 2007 letter, this is going to cost you. And my question was, what is it going to cost me? Is it going to cost me time, energy, money,
My life.
serious physical?
It's very ambiguous, but we know what he meant.
It's not ambiguous. It's when a middle,
On point.
and it's on point. Yeah, thank you. Nino Falcone is a municipal court judge. He's a trained lawyer. He's also an adult. He's not a child. So when he puts down in writing, and I discussed this with the Hudson County Prosecutor's Office before this went to the grand jury, when he says, this is going to cost you, and I wrote notes on this.
Yeah,
What is it?
like Falcone, I've been before him before.
You've been before?
Yeah, a long time ago. But that's the way he operates. It's going to cost you. That is his language. Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's his language, and how do you mention it? Yeah.
And he's a bully.
He can be very, yes, absolutely, yes.
So he, when he says this is going to cost you, I'm like, was it going to cost me? Serious bodily injury, my life, and ultimately, Nino Falcone acted on his threats.
Yes.
He called up Jersey City. He's threatening me in December of 2007, and about a little under a year later, in September and in October of 2008. He acted on his threats. He called Jersey City Medical Center and he lied. And he started acting on his threats that whole year. So when I was asked by law enforcement, how did Nino Falcone threaten you? I had a very clear picture in my mind of the letter that he mailed me in December of 2007, but I deliberately answered that question without being detailed oriented as they expected, because I wanted to test them to see if they were using military interrogation techniques on me, and they were. And there are other examples of that. So they thought that this would discredit me.
I see.
And in fact, I turned it on them, and now it's a field test. So you
Well,
were
how did you turn it on to the feds?
well, you did not accompany us when we went down and talked to the federal law enforcement agent the first few times. But when they're trying to discredit me, this is really giving me insight into what they have and what they don't have, and giving me insight into the enemy. But when they're trying to discredit me by saying, they ask a question, and it's done to disorient you because it comes out of the blue. How did Nino Falcone threaten you? And I say, well, I'm a little fuzzy on that detail. And they go, you're a liar. No, it's because I answered out of character. I answered out of what you're used to me, what I've trained you to think how I should answer, and you're taking that anomaly and trying to say that I'm a liar, or you're trying to discredit me when that's not true. And what I did was I turned it around into a test, because in military interrogation techniques, they try to see how you process information. So if they're so used to you being detailed-oriented and you answer a question without the details, they will say that that's a lie. What
And
they
you
have.
can turn around the question. You can turn around and ask the question. Well, how am I a liar?
Well, no, this was just a field test. That this.
And I know, but I'm just saying to turn it back to them because you can say anything. The why is sometimes harder to prove.
Well, the important point of this is they thought that it would be easy to discredit me, but I wasn't really thinking about that. I wanted to show that they were using military interrogation techniques. So they're very rigid and locked into those techniques where they're trying to get a beat on you. So they're trying to say, well, this person is a small chunker, this person is detailed oriented. So anything that's not detailed, any response that's not detailed oriented must be a lie. Okay, so what they fail to account for is, that someone like me would be hip to what you're doing, and that I would test you. Okay, so
Turn the tables.
yeah, so this is a field test, and it is very serious, and we're not fooling around. So let's go to this document. So this is the bird's eye view,
Yes.
and you can take our stills off, and I'm going to talk through this.
Zoom it.
Yeah, she'll zoom it for us. So our very talented. You can zoom in closer. Okay, so if you wanted to go to the the Eastern District of New York, 225 Codman Plaza, and my docket number is 12-CV1393, and it's Radin versus Dr. Tung et al. This was submitted on 9 November 2013. It's been It's been time date stamped. Okay, so there's no plausible deniability. And I started this by suing in federal court now. Okay, so Elmhurst, I was defamed by Rikers Island to Elmhurst Hospital, where they claimed that I'd threatened a judge. Dr. Tung from Rikers Island called up Elmhurst Hospital, and the goal here was to make good on Alex Spiro's threats. Alex Spiro's Assistant District Attorney Alex Spiro in the Manhattan District Attorney's Office. He threatened me. He acted on his threats.
Sure.
We're going to put you in jail for a year to discredit you as a criminal.
Absolutely.
And this is all part of the Buharian Jewish community. She's a criminal. No. Marlene Abramova is a criminal for making false police reports against me.
Yeah, let me tell what Lydia's talking about. She's talking about Soviet show trials. Basically, what it is, you put political dissidents into the hospital and they disappear. You don't take direct action and prosecute them.
And look at that young lady. Look at that young lady who disappeared in Russia just recently.
Right. So this is the people that I'm dealing with is Marlene Abramova and her mother Sarah, who are from the former Soviet Union, and David Ribakoff. And they use their contacts, and one of their contacts through Mount Sinai is a crooked doctor, a dishonest psychiatrist named Vladimir Jelnov. Okay, so you're dealing with dishonest Russian. This is what we imported to America. But the bottom line is, Assistant District Attorney Alex Spiro. So we'll talk about the propaganda campaign a little later. Yes. Assistant District Attorney Alex Spiro threatened me, and he acted on his threats. We're going to discredit you by putting you in jail for a year, and then we're going to put you in, we're going to lock you away forever. Take this very seriously because they almost did this. Okay, this is really frightening.
Standard Russian.
Okay. So we're going to put you in jail for a year, which they did, and then we're going to put you in a locked psychiatric ward forever.
Disappear.
Right, exactly, because they don't like political. I am an American dissident.
Political dissident.
Right.
I just think you're a truth maker, and you just want truth, justice, and fair play. That's what they have against you because they believe in the opposite of keeping everyone ignorant, living in fear, and not be able to think for themselves. And you are not the mold they want.
Thank you. Neither are you.
Thank you.
So,
would we be becoming a police state if something?
We're already a police state,
I see.
and I'll get to that later.
Okay,
We're already a police state.
Just a little point from information. We became a police state in the last month of just 2012 when the NDAA was passed, which limits our Bill of Rights and the government's right to put you in jail just to call you a terrorist with no proof of body, which is habeas corpus anymore.
We are a police state. We'll get to that in a minute, but we are a police state. Americans are not sensitive to it because they weren't brought up with this kind of repression. But remember, my mother is from a communist country where the secret police really do come to your house. They really do murder you, and no one says a word. Okay, so because I'm first-generation American.
I see.
Okay, so I'm more sensitive to this than Americans who are born and lived here for generations. Okay, so I'm in federal court right now, very quickly. I'm in federal court right now.
Got it.
Dr. Tung defames me to Elmhurst Hospital, claiming that I should be in a locked psychiatric ward because I, quote, even threatened a judge, unquote. Okay, that's not true. That's defaming. And so what I did is I started in federal court now, and I'm suing the doctors at Elmhurst Hospital for defamation and fraud, and and for Medicaid fraud, which is also a federal crime.
Sure.
So for defamation and fraud, these false records here and this criminal gang here base their activity on the criminal gang at Rikers Island and the fraud and defamation from Rikers Island.
Okay.
So I'm suing the entire mental health department at Rikers Island because they had the evidence in their hands to show that I was telling the truth and that I was illegally incarcerated, and they did nothing but cooperate with the criminals at the Manhattan District Attorney's Office. So this includes District Attorney Cyrus Vance and Assistant District Attorney Alex Spiro. Okay. So this is the malicious prosecution in Manhattan, and the purpose of this malicious prosecution was to cover up for the crimes in Jersey City. And the crimes in Jersey City at Jersey City Medical Center. Wait, just 1 second. Hold it. Wait, I'm losing. Hold it. Hold it. The crimes in Jersey City Medical Center, right? This is Vladimir Jelnov and the dishonest psychiatrist. The malicious prosecution in Manhattan was to create false court records to cover up for the crimes in Jersey City. And the crimes in Jersey City lead to the crimes at the Albert Einstein College of Medicine of Yeshiva University, which is the root of the problem. So I'm being stalked and persecuted through life by the crooked doctors and other dishonest individuals associated with Yeshiva University, because Yeshiva University is not a school. It's an organized criminal. It's an organized criminal entity. Okay. It's a criminal organization. And right now, as I sue in the Eastern District of New York, there are 34 former students who are suing in the Southern District of New York. I'm suing in the Eastern District. They're suing in the Southern District in federal court, where they're suing for physical and sexual abuse
over the years.
That goes back decades.
Sure.
And I already laid a foundation in the Southern District of New York so that they can show that this is not a few bad apples.
It's not an isolated.
Yeah.
Correct. It's not a few bad apples, and these are not one-time honest mistakes, but this is a university widespread pattern and practice of psychopathic and sociopathic behavior that goes back decades, that to abuse students any way you can and to steal money any way you can. Now, what's interesting is that in Jersey City, and I'm going to show you an example right now, in Jersey City, our mayor, Steve Fulop, was my city councilman. And when Nino Falcone, Judge Falcone, called Jersey City Medical Center and lied to have me physically assaulted, after I survived that attack and fought my way out of the medical center, I had irrefutable evidence that I put into Steve Fulop's hands. So my city councilman, who's a Marine and claimed to be the law and order candidate, had irrefutable evidence in his hands that the crooked doctors at Jersey City Medical Center.
You did the phone call. You couldn't do that.
Exactly, and I took that one of the litigation points, which I'm going to show right now, is a photograph of my landlord slashing my door with a knife.
I see.
Now, I put this up on the internet to protect myself because exposing these crimes protects me and all the citizens of Jersey City. What I did was to dramatize this point is I enlarged the photograph and I brought it to the Jersey City Council meeting that we all attended this week, Jason.
That was one great program.
Yeah, we got a lot of material to cover on there too. But I had this, and the entire City Council has no plausible deniability. So I'm going to show that right now, Steph. I'm sorry. Excuse me. Can you hand me that?
Sure, you gotta
Okay.
stand up this way. Okay,
Okay.
I don't know how you're gonna do it, but.
Here we go.
Here it
So
is
this,
anyway.
I'm going to
You can sit
describe
down
it.
too. Go ahead,
Okay.
there you go.
So this
You can
is,
zoom it if you want to zoom it a little bit. There you go.
yeah, you can, okay. So this is a poster that, and I showed this to, I want to make sure I get the hand in.
Sure.
Now, very nice technical director. Let me just ask you, because I've done these man on the street tests too. The photograph that you see, it's does that look like a woman's hand or a man's hand?
Man's hand.
Why does it appear to be a man's hand to you?
Because the hair goes up the hand to, well, what appears to be hair goes up the knuckles. Up to the knuckles.
Right. So what you see here is a masculine-looking hairy hand, or a hand that's masculine-looking with a lot of hair on it. And he's holding a utility knife as he slashes my door and takes the sign down. Now, I'm going to show you my Jersey City, the medical records. These are not medical records. These are wholesale fraud. Okay, these are psychiatrists at a major medical center in Jersey City, which is referred to as like another borough of New York. So these are supposed to be sophisticated, people in an urban environment. They're not a bunch of people who just fell off the turnip truck. So if you've got psychiatrists in a major medical center, and I have access to my records from the Jersey City Medical Center online, and I can show them. But these are not, and law enforcement has these too. These are not bona fide medical records. This is deliberate fraud. This is intentional fraud. And in those records, they claim that that's my hand in the photograph. Now, I ask you, does that look like my hand in the photograph?
No way.
No. This is Ralph Pagnosi. This is my landlord's hand in the photograph. And he admitted to the police, the Jersey City police, that he slashed my door with a knife. And you can see the utility knife in his hand. Okay? So when they claim that this is my hand in the photograph to make false medical records, to put me in a locked psychiatric ward, this is really sick. Okay, these are not children here. These are adult men and women.
What is that sign? Is that a no contact order? Fill us in, Lydia. What is your sign that you have on the door?
Thank you, Bill. The sign that I posted informs, the sign that I posted says there's a verbal no contact order.
There you go.
In my landlord's pressed false criminal charges in municipal court. I asked Judge Nestle A. Rodriguez for a written no contact order. Illegally, criminally, she refused to give me a written no contact order. When my landlords violated it, and I know this from my work at Women Organized Against Rape, you need a written no contact order so that you can call the police and you can show them the order from the judge. So Judge Rodriguez knew what she was doing when she sent me home without that written no contact order. And twice in July of 2008, I asked her for that. Once with Kevin Pervin, my public defender, and again a second time in late July 2008 with Jonathan Goodman, another public defender, because I had fired Kevin Pervin. And I'm like, I need a written no contact order. So when my landlords violate this, I can call the police and show them when they violate the no contact.
Sure.
Exactly. Now, Judge Rodriguez knew the risk that she was sending me to, because we explained to her that my landlords had violated a written no contact order before from a criminal court judge. So she knew that she was putting me and my family at risk. She refused to give me a written no contact order. Now, I was threatened, and I talked to a longtime tenant advocate at the Jersey City Councilman this past week. And hopefully he'll be calling my show to confirm this in the upcoming weeks. He was threatened, as was I, that with horrible, all kinds of physical violence. I was threatened that they were going to burn me out of the apartment, that they were going to throw my documentary evidence away, that they would murder me. I mean, I got all kinds of threats. So I Go ahead.
Here's an issue. These are terroristic threats, which is now a felony. If these things were said, why weren't they acted upon? I mean,
because the people who are executing this is Judge Nino Falcone from North Bergen, who is coming.
Yeah, but a judge doesn't have. No one has the right to threaten anyone, regardless if you're the president of the United States. You threaten someone personally. That's a terroristic threat, regardless of your post.
Well, it's a threat against my life, and by the way, they acted on this. So, you know, I'm the one who lives in fear of serious bodily injury because I experienced serious bodily injury when Jersey City Medical Center executed a physical assault on me when they had their security guards physically assault me based on the lies that Judge Falcone made. So Judge Nino Falcone threatened me and acted on his threats, as did my landlords. Why wasn't I protected? Because 3 steps behind me is my medical school, and their agenda, they have an agenda that's not hidden. They're pushing this through their dishonest attorneys. So yeah, I'd like an answer from the Jersey City Police Department because my landlord admitted to slashing my door with a knife. But the bottom line is this is the crime and corruption that we're dealing with. I'm fortunate enough that I'm able to defend myself, but others are not that fortunate.
There you go.
And you see this happening in real time with Pauline Roman, okay? So we live in an incredibly corrupt system where the people that we pay, the law enforcement that we pay with our tax dollars doesn't protect us at all, okay?
Atmosphere of corruption.
They do protection. It's called protect and serve themselves first, and everyone else run for cover.
Right. They've gotten the idea that they're free agents, but the bottom line is it's the very judges that are doing this. So what I'm trying to say right here is my city councilman was Mr. Steve Fulop. Okay, Steve Fulop is my city councilman. I put this photograph in his hands in face-to-face meetings. I put this photograph up on the internet. And what Judge Falcone didn't want anybody to see was, oh my God, she's got the evidence and she's exposing it, okay? Because 3 steps behind me is my medical school running around behind my back saying horrible lies. It's the bottom line is this is an Orthodox Jewish school. I'm not being terrorized by the Arabs. I'm being terrorized by the Jews. Yes. I live in fear of serious bodily injury based on the threats that an Orthodox Jewish school made and is executing against me because I won't shut up about the crime and corruption at Yeshiva University that now is affecting 34 former students who are suing. I went to Rabbi Lamb also. Those students went to Rabbi Lamb. So this is not a school. This is a criminal organization that uses religion as a cover, and they're stealing money any way they can. These are some of the details as they persecute you through life. They stalked me and persecuted me through life like an animal until in Jersey City they almost murdered me. This is premeditated attempted murder and conspiracy to commit murder. So Steve Fulop right now as mayor can be removed from office from moral turpitude because you do not run a city when you've got irrefutable irrefutable evidence in your hands. I want to show the picture a little bit more. Steph, can you get a little better? Yeah. Okay. You're there. We go. That's good. You can almost see the writing. That's Ralph Pagnozzi's hand. That's not my hand in the photograph. Okay. So you cannot, and that's a utility knife in his hand as he's slashing my door. I called 2 police officers to confirm the physical damage to my door. And the stupid excuse I got was, oh, the landlord's damaging his own property. That's not the point here, okay? This was a sign that I was compelled to post because Judge Rodriguez refused to give me a written no contact order.
Well, this follows a logical pattern. Now, Lydia is not going to take down her own sign. She posted it, and it makes sense that this is what landlords do. They see signs that they don't like. They remove the sign. This is not rocket science. I mean, it would make no sense for her to take down her own sign. She's the one that posted it.
Thank you, Bill. That's very insightful.
Of course.
Thank you. Go ahead.
And this goes along that even Pauline had things on her area. And her landlord took it down.
Oh yeah, that's what landlords do. Yeah.
But this is my front door, so I'm posting a sign. I should not have to be compelled to post this sign.
Right.
because I should have been given a written no contact order by the judge when I asked for it. Not been given some bogus, worthless verbal no contact order. The FBI is laughing at Judge Nestle A. Rodriguez, and they're saying we've never heard of such a thing.
Well, I was there when that happened.
Well, the
Okay.
laughter may be grand, but it doesn't help you in the plan.
I'm sorry?
They may be laughing to Rodriguez, but it's not part. It's part of her plan to be deceptive.
Yes, these are
And-
yes.
And it just goes along with the big lies that we're confronting.
But you know, when you've got the FBI saying, what the heck is this? We never even heard of a verbal no contact order. Nestle A. Rodriguez should not be on the bench as a state court judge. She needs to be disbarred. Now, I posted this sign so that, I had to form a mutual citizens protection. My mother and her boyfriend had to come, and for 4 months we lived under house arrest conditions to protect the evidence with our lives. Okay, so I'm posting a sign that says I'm posting a sign that says there's a verbal no contact order. You do not enter my home. You do not cross this threshold. You do not tamper with the evidence that we're protecting. And my landlord, this is not my landlord slashing this, the misconstrued word games, nonsense. This is very serious. I'm going down to law enforcement saying the violence towards me is escalating. Okay, my landlord got into his car from North Bergen, drove half an hour to my apartment, and slashed my door with a knife. Okay, he knows what he's doing. He's a middle-aged adult man. He has 3 children. He's not stupid. He knows what he's doing. He knows that this is wrong, and he's sending me a message. And now you don't slash my door with a knife so that there's a deep gouge. And I had to call I had to call 2 police officers from Jersey City. They confirmed the damage to the door, and then make up stories about, oh, the landlord isn't behaving in a way that's dangerous to others, namely me.
He's removing a sign.
Well,
Yeah,
but it's
I have every right to
credit.
post this sign. This sign is not a, wait, let me just finish, Jason. I have every right to post this sign to protect myself. You're not burning me out of the apartment. You're not breaking into the apartment. You're not, I was threatened with, we're going to take all your evidence and throw it into the street. You're not doing that. And the excuse that was given was, oh, this is a fire hazard. No, it's not. This is a sign that's taped to a door. That's not a fire hazard. So Stacy Dix Kubiaski and Jersey City Medical Center and the Crooked Doctors can make up all kinds of stories they want, but the bottom line is they're liars and they're dangerous to others. When Jersey City Medical Center claims that this is my hand in the photograph, that's sick. This is my Debbie Simon at the Hudson County Prosecutor's Office never bothered checking with the person who took this photograph. That's a witness. She never checked the facts. But I don't have to prove this is Ralph Pagnozzi's hand. It is blatantly obvious that that is not my hand in the photograph. That is a photograph of a masculine-looking hand with a lot of hair on it. And like Bill says, it makes no sense for me to be taking down the sign that I posted.
Your own sign,
Okay, so when you got Jason, you should be very afraid because this is Jersey City Medical Center, Psychiatric Mobile Crisis Unit, making up stories to go out into the field and literally kidnap off the streets an innocent person like me. And I was threatened with that. We're going to take you off the streets, throw you in a locked psychiatric ward to shut you. Go ahead.
Well, the thing is, the things that you're stating are horrendous and totally illegal, and everyone's going around with like a fairy with fairy dust saying that nothing's wrong.
That's really frightening.
And to go on a little further. Now, when I was calling for you for the judge, I got a clerk who turned around and said, "Well, that's not." And I asked her to do something about putting a protection of order on me personally. She wouldn't do anything because I said, "Well, you have to talk to the judge about that." And
now, wait,
not the place.
Jason, before you wander off, let me just orient the audience. I went to court this past week in the Eastern District of New York, and I'm in front of a federal judge. And I, based on the overview here, right, I'm suing Elmhurst Hospital, Rikers Island, and the defendants are is the City of New York, because Rikers Island is Rikers Island. The Crooked Doctors at Rikers Island, they're employed by the City of New York. So I'm in federal court facing down Carolyn E. Crook. She's a dishonest attorney with the City of New York, and I have evidence that shows that she's a liar. And what she was asking the judge for is she wanted that evidence destroyed, and she wanted what the judge characterized as a gag order. So those requests were refused. And when I got this request from Carolyn Crook that said she wanted the audio tapes and the videotapes that I had destroyed, I got community activists like Jason Berg involved to call the judge and to come to court with me and to let the judge know there was going to be pushback, because we are not destroying evidence. So Jason, go ahead.
And the other thing is that destroying evidence, anything that does with documentation, is a 30-year sentence. So what's that?
Well, let me just finish. So I'm going into court this past week on Tuesday, November 2nd, 2013, in front of a federal judge. And what the City of New York, what Carolyn Crook wanted, was she's asking the judge in writing to have a federal judge order me to destroy audio tapes and videotapes, to destroy evidence. Yeah, and that's why a lot of people got involved and said, no way is she destroying evidence. And Jason Berg is one of our heroes who called the federal judge and made his voice heard and said she's not destroying evidence. And because I'm speaking out, this is what Jason's saying, I'm paraphrasing what you said, because I'm speaking out and because I'm using my name and because I'm going public about this, Jason Berg wanted an order of protection so he would not be retaliated against. So he's discussing this with the court clerks, and the court clerks are complicit in this. Remember, the court clerks are attorneys, and it's their job to educate the judge so the judge can make an informed decision, not to cover up for crime and corruption. And as I discussed with one of the court clerks, you pick up the phone and you call the FBI when you've got a pro se litigant like me who's telling you, court officer, a licensed attorney, that her documents have been tampered with. So what Jason's talking about is that he called, you called the judges this past week.
I called the judges' chambers 2 times, and I got the same person, and she was stopping me from doing anything. Then I called and left a message on the day of your court, put all my information down there, my address and my phone number, to contact me. Then I went and talked to the other judge, who's the supervising judge, and got the same BS where, that's not our responsibility here for the judge. You have to be in front of that judge. So it was like the scarecrow in Wizard of Oz, they went that way.
Well, the thing is, you have every right to call a judge. You are a member of the community. You have every right to call and express outrage as part of the community conscience. Now, they want to misconstrue and say, you're trying to influence the judicial process. That's not why you were calling, okay? You have every right to call when the community is so outraged that the City of New York, that our tax dollars pay for these crooked doctors. This is Medicaid fraud. That's a federal crime at Rikers Island. So you have every right as a member of the community to call the judge and express outrage. You are expressing to the judge the community conscience, and it's your money that's paying for this fraud, abuse, and waste. So you have every right to call the judge and say, it's my understanding, and we did this for 2 producers here who are also fighting for their constitutional rights. It's my understanding that Carolyn E. Crook, an attorney employed by the City of New York, has made a request in writing to have audio tapes and videotapes destroyed. and I, as a member of the community, am expressing outrage, that evidence will not be destroyed. So you have every right to call the judge. In the Pauline Roman case in New Jersey, we heard from corporate counsel and others saying, oh, you can't call Judge Mary Beth Rogers. Yes, you can. You can call Judge Mary Beth Rogers because we pay for this crime, corruption, and abuse. And when Judge Mary Beth Rogers tells Pauline Roman that she cannot call witnesses, and that's an outrage. And we as a community will not be silent. So the fraud that was executed against Pauline Roman, and these are the part of the crooked doctors, you know, they were going to drop kick her into Jersey City Medical Center to discredit her in the Nino Falcone crooked lawyer tricks. And the reason why it didn't happen was because a number of us called, including me, screaming my head off to the State Attorney General's office saying, no, you're not. You're not pulling the same dirty trick on Pauline Roman that you did to me, and you're not drop kicking her into Jersey City Medical Center to discredit her. You're not pulling the same dirty trick. So in Pauline Roman's case, and as I spoke in front of the City Council, Pauline says to Judge Mary Beth Rogers, I have a witness in the courtroom who's prepared to testify. This is August of 2013, and she's in landlord-tenant court trying to defend herself. Your Honor, I have a witness in the courtroom who's prepared to testify. This is Pauline Roman speaking to Judge Mary Beth Rogers. I'd like to call my witness, please. May I please call my witness? And Judge Mary Beth Rogers says no. And all of us almost fell out of our chairs because that's illegal. That's criminal. And Judge Rogers is trying to misconstrue and make up the argument that says, well, I already heard this case earlier. No, you didn't. Because the first time Pauline Roman was up there, it was the dirty lawyer tricks from the Nino Falcone School of Law, the dirty lawyer tricks.
Nino Falcone playbook.
That's right. Thank you, Bill. So the first time Pauline Roman was up there, it was, oh, here's the dirty trick to deny Pauline Roman representation. The second time she was up there, Judge Mary Beth Rogers in landlord-tenant court at 595 Newark Avenue in Jersey City, bent over backwards to accommodate the landlord's witness, to call the landlord's witness on the phone to make it incredibly easy to make a false court record. And the third time that Pauline Roman was in front of Judge Mary Beth Rogers, when she said, can I please call my witness, Judge Mary Beth Rogers said no, and she deliberately made a false court record through the sin of omission. So this is Pauline Roman's argument. The judge has executed a fraud, and the judge executed a fraud by making a false court record through the sin of omission, through deliberately, intentionally, maliciously, with criminal intent, refusing to let Pauline Roman call her witnesses and put her evidence on the record. That's why she fired Frank Babcock, municipal court judge from Jersey City, Frank Babcock, because he was creating a false court record. And that's what they did to railroad me into Rikers Island. They made a false court record. Let me just finish this. Go ahead.
There's a correction about Frank Babcock. He was doing the pro bono work as a judge. He wrote a letter to get out of his pro bono work for Pauline Roman and all the bad advice he gave her and did to her. So he, in the future, will be accountable for his misdeeds against Pauline and supporting the judge's rulings in favor of the landlord. And basically, it's really even more horrendous is this landlord is bragging that he's bribing anyone he wants to get what he wants.
That's right. And as I pointed out in front of the Jersey City Council on another occasion, a municipal court judge from Jersey City, Frank Babcock, cannot represent Pauline Roman because he has a conflict of interest. So he didn't ask to get out of her case to be relieved as counsel because Lydia Radin refused to stop videotaping on one occasion. That's not why he should be removed. He lied. Frank Babcock lied. The occasion that he's referring to is Pauline Roman asked me to come to her apartment and videotape Inspector Gross. Inspector Gross asked me to turn the camera off. I did, and I double-checked with law enforcement. My camera and my editing equipment shows that I turned the camera off.
My voice was in the background, said, "All right, the camera's off." So
That's
I'm on
right.
record. Right.
Thank you, Bill. So we had a bunch of witnesses. My camera went off. So when Inspector Gross told Judge Mary Beth Rogers, oh, I couldn't do the inspection because I was being videotaped, he lied because the camera was turned off. And when Frank Babcock, wait. And when Frank Babcock reiterated that lie to Judge Mary Beth Rogers, saying, oh, the inspection couldn't be done because we were videotaping, Frank Babcock lied because the camera was turned off. Inspector Gross had no excuse not to finish the inspection because the camera was turned off and it was put away. So he deliberately stormed off, lied to the judge, had Frank Babcock lied to the judge, and this was all an excuse to attack Lydia Radin, which is what they did. So they made a false court record, they lied to the judge, and when Pauline Roman is trying to tell the truth to the judge, the heavy-handed techniques are being used, she's being characterized as having all these outbursts, like there's something wrong with her. All these shenanigans are being played, but the bottom line is, and this is irrefutable, in August of 2013, Pauline Roman went up in front of Judge went up in front of Judge Mary Beth Rogers. The first time she went up in front of Judge Mary Beth Rogers, there was a dirty lawyer trick played to deny her counsel. The second time she went up there, Judge Mary Beth Rogers bent over backwards to accommodate the landlord and his witnesses. And the third time she went up there, when she tried to have her witness called, Judge Mary Beth Rogers made up excuses so she couldn't call her witnesses. And this is on page 56 of the transcript. And on page 54, Pauline Roman is also making good faith efforts, and she tells the judge, I have 2 police officers who want to testify, who will verify that I'm telling the truth and the landlord is lying. May I please call them? Can we please check the facts with the police officers? And Judge Mary Beth Rogers says no. Okay, so what you've got is a false court record is being created. In my case and in Pauline Roman's case, if you create a false court record, you change the transcript, you control our attorneys, you can make a false court record through omissions and false statements of material fact, and you can railroad anybody into Rikers Island, which is what they did to me. And from Rikers Island, you can use these crooked doctors to put anyone in the locked psychiatric ward for life to shut them up. And that's very frightening, and that's what we're fighting against right now. So we've got
information.
Go ahead.
The Gross had also done another inspection where he was supposed to come in. I asked him, was going to come in and inspect Pauline Roman's apartment on the first floor. Said no. He even had a second person do an inspection for the state, and he said no. And this is ridiculous because the entire building was supposed to be
Jason, we're going to go out
inspected.
in. We're going to go out in less than 5 seconds. So next week we'll get into more of those details and how you can protect yourself.
Thank you all, and have a blessed weekend and a beautiful future.
Listen, I got